Yolan Nell reporting there. Well, we can go live now to Amman in Jordan, and I'm joined now by Tamara Alrifai from the UNRWA, UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. Thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News. If you could start by telling us the practicalities of how this 4-day pause will work when it comes to getting much needed aid and indeed fuel into Gaza.
It is premature to know exactly how it will work. We heard the news like everybody else. So what we are getting prepared for right now, after welcoming the news, including on the pause, is to make sure that the security conditions are right, meaning there's truly a cessation of hostilities, not an active war zone that will allow increased aid in, more trucks in, but mostly that will allow UNRWA, my colleagues, to be able to go into the north of the Gaza Strip. That is the part of the Gaza Strip that has been almost entirely sealed for the last few weeks, with no aid going in at all, no water, no food, no medicine, while we still have around 60 shelters open there with an estimate of 160,000 people in them.
So how dire is the situation in the north from what you're hearing at the moment?
It is extremely dire, precisely because it's been sealed with no humanitarian aid and also no commercial goods going in. We need to remember that the entirety of the Gaza Strip has been almost entirely sealed for a long time, save for the 50 trucks per day on average, with no commercial goods going in. The stores are empty. So with no humanitarian aid going into the north and no commercial goods, people have been surviving on very, very little that they had from before the war.
How much of a difference will 4 days make then in terms of trying to bridge that massive gap that's been there in terms of getting aid in?
At this point of dire, any day of pause is a great day for many. However, in terms of logistics and capacity and also security guarantees that the UN trucks and the UN personnel can truly go around the strip without coming under fire, we are yet to see. We are still calling for a large increase in the number of trucks. A couple of hundreds of trucks a day will not ease substantively the situation for over 2 million people right now. Again, as a reminder, before this war and despite a blockade on Gaza, there used to be around 500 trucks going in every day, a mix of commercial and humanitarian goods and fuel. Fuel has been scarce, and that is also a call that we're making. To be able to deliver goods all over the Gaza Strip, our trucks need much more fuel than what we're receiving.
And so far, any fuel that has been allowed through has been for the aid trucks to deliver aid. But of course, there are hospitals and other places that need fuel to operate as well.
Absolutely. What we've been getting over the last few days is half the quantity that we need to be able to cover the trucks, the power generators to power electricity into our shelters, the water pumping and desalination plants to provide clean drinking water, and avoid a situation that we're witnessing now, which is a huge surge in gastric and skin diseases because people are drinking and using contaminated water.
And can I just ask you about how the looming winter and, of course, flooding as well that we've been hearing about is changing the humanitarian needs in terms of what you need on the ground now?
The humanitarian needs are now skyrocketing because of the change in weather, because people need warm clothes. Many people have only, they left their homes 45, 46 days ago with only the clothes they had on their backs. And so because the aid coming into Gaza has not been as sufficient as we wanted, we at UNRWA did not have sufficient mattresses and blankets and warm clothes. People are overcrowding in our shelters. Many of them sleep in the courtyards. The courtyards are now soaked with rainwater. And by the way, the streets of Rafah in the south of Gaza are flooded with sewage water because the lack of fuel means the pumping stations, sewage pumping stations have not been working.
Okay, thank you so much for bringing us that update, Tamara Alrifai from UNRWA.